Go.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening. Welcome to the Tabo Connectivity Study Virtual Public Meeting number 1. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that I do have everyone muted at this time. There is a question box in the menu on your screen if you would like to type any questions in. We will answer them after the presentation. So just to do some introductions, from the city of Albuquerque, I'm actually going to welcome first Laura Rumler, who is the policy analyst for Councilor Harris. Laura, do you want to say a few words?
Job is ideal.
Oh, I think she's having issues with her mic. Petra, do you want to say a few words? Oh, there she is. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi. I'm sorry. My computer's being silly. Hi, everyone. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to extend the gratitude of Councilor Harris. He can't make it tonight. I don't think he's on tonight. But for everyone joining us tonight to discuss this study and the findings that the team has put together. We know everyone involved has put a lot of thought and time into this study, and there's a lot of moving parts. So without them, this would be far beyond difficult. And the councilor just wanted to extend his support for improving the area. He acknowledges that there are traffic issues that occur in the surrounding neighborhoods, and he wants to be conscious of everybody about this. So we hope that tonight's meeting will be productive and a helpful discussion. So we look forward to any comments or concerns or questions you have. And thank you for being involved and helping us navigate this discussion.
Thank you, Laura. Also with us tonight from the city of Albuquerque, we have Petra Morris. She's the project manager for the study for the city. We also have Melissa Lozoya, Tom Menacucci, and Tim Brown. With Wilson & Company, we are the engineering consultant for this project. My name is Audra Gallegos, and also with Wilson & Company tonight, we have Ben Backwards. So these next slides that I'm going to go over will describe the study area. The project goal is to identify a more direct connection between Tabo and Eubank. The study area for this project is Tabo at the east, Southern at the north, Eubank at the west, and then Kirtland Air Force Base at the south. Tonight, I will present to you the existing conditions and then the conceptual alternatives. As part of this study, we identified the property owners within the study area, which is illustrated in this graphic. As you can see, there are many different property owners within the area, and at this time, the city of Albuquerque only owns a small area of land, which is shown in these yellow shaded sections. Another thing we identified are the easements, which are shown on this graphic. There are some P&M easements to the south of the mobile home parks. There's also some P&M easements across the Tijeras Arroyo, and then some along Eubank, south of Eubank. There's also a private access easement, which is labeled here at the south at Pocono Road. Within the study area, there is also what is called the Tijeras Biozone. So this is this pink shaded area. So a biozone is an area of high concentration of natural resources that are protected and preserved. The city adopted the 2014 Resource Management Plan for the Tijeras Arroyo Biological Zone. This plan recommends not to develop within the biozone, which, as you can see in this illustration, that the Tabo Hills West community is developed within this zone. The city is currently in the process of trying to acquire the land within the biozone in order to preserve the biological and cultural resources. There's also an old landfill located within this study area, and this is shown in these purple shaded areas. So the next few slides I'll go over have some photos within the study limits. This top left photo is of Juan Tabo at the Tijeras Arroyo Bridge, and then the bottom right is looking across the arroyo. And then these photos show some constraints that are within the study area. There's, of course, the large Tijeras Arroyo. There's also some transmission poles and then these wooden power poles. Other constraints within the study area is the communities, the mobile home parks. To the south, of course, we have Kirtland Air Force Base property line. And then this photo on the right shows a photo from Innovation Parkway, and you can see all the power lines and the P&M substation. So as part of this study, we also looked at the existing traffic. This graphic shows the Mid-Region Council of Governments existing traffic count data. The numbers shown in these blue boxes is the average daily traffic on each roadway. The numbers to the right and to the left are the directional peak hour traffic. So these are the highest amount of traffic during a 1 hour period on the roadway. There's about the same amount of traffic on Southern, as you can see, 15,000, as there is on Juan Tabo, 13,000. And then also, as you can see with this graphic, the amount of traffic almost doubles at Eubank Boulevard, so 27,000. When looking at volumes, we also analyze the volume to capacity ratio. So this is a measurement of roadway congestion. The ratios of the major roadways are shown in this graphic. Anything over 1 means the roadway is over capacity, and then over 0.75 means the roadway is approaching capacity. So this graphic shows in red the segments that are approaching capacity. So as you can see, the northbound Juan Tabo Drive is approaching capacity in the AM peak, and then in the PM peak, the southbound is over capacity. And this is the area of Juan Tabo south of the bridge. One of the reasons that it's over capacity south of the bridge is north of the bridge, Juan Tabo is 4 lanes, and then it transitions into 2 lanes south of the bridge. In December of 2019 and in January of 2020, the City Traffic Division conducted a cut-through traffic study. It set up 3 locations, which are shown in yellow, within the Willowwood community to determine if drivers were cutting through from Juan Tabo, cutting through to Gibson, or from Elizabeth, cutting to Gibson. So the study determined that approximately 60% of traffic was cut through traffic during the AM peak. The next thing we analyzed as part of the study was crash data. Crash data was obtained from 2014 to 2018, which is the latest 5 years available. There were a total of 298 crashes within the study area. So this graphic is a heat map of the total crashes. Eubank and Southern had the most crashes with 90, which is almost a third of the total crashes. The Elizabeth and Southern intersection had the second highest number of crashes with 23, followed by Eubank and Innovation, and then Eubank and Gibson. There were 46 crashes along Juan Tabo, with 70% of those north of the bridge. There were no fatal crashes within the study area during that 5-year period, but there were 4 serious crashes at Eubank and Southern, Eubank and La Entrada, Wantabo and Herman Raser, and Wantabo and Pampano. So after analyzing these existing conditions, we came up with 4 conceptual alternatives. So these alternatives will be analyzed as part of this project. At this time, they are just conceptual. The detailed analysis has not been completed. That will be our next step. So going through these alternatives, Alternative A consists of 2 roadways that run along Kirtland Air Force Base property. Eubank would be extended to the south, and it would tie into that Pocono Road access easement that I had discussed in the previous slide. So the pros of this alternative is it would use that existing easement access. It is on the edge of the Tijeras Biozone, and no homes would be relocated as part of this alternative. The cons is it would cross the Tijeras Arroyo. It would potentially tie into this residential street in the Wantabo Hills community, which would cause some cut-through traffic for those residents. There's also some possible utility conflicts. There's some P&M poles in this area. It would be an expensive alternative. It would need a bridge to cross the arroyo. And also, the alignment falls on the edge of the old landfill. So alternative B consists of a road that would connect Wantabo Drive to Innovation Parkway, and it would need a bridge to cross the arroyo. So the pros of this alternative is it ties into 2 collector roadways, so that means no cut-through traffic on residential streets, and also no home relocations for this alternative. The cons, it would need to cross the Tijeras Arroyo, which means it's within the biozone, possible utility conflicts. It would be an expensive option to build that bridge, and also it's within that old landfill. Alternative C consists of a roadway that again would connect Wantabo to Innovation Parkway. The road would run along the south side of the mobile home parks. The pros of this, again, it ties into the collector roadways, no cut-through traffic through the residential area, no homes would be relocated, and this is not within the landfill. The cons, we would still have to go through the Tijeras Arroyo within the biozone, possible utility conflicts, and then since the grades are really steep in this area, it would be an expensive option because of the amount of earthwork and retaining walls that would be needed. Alternative D consists of a roadway that would connect Wantabo to Gibson. This roadway would run through the existing mobile home parks. The pros of this alternative, again, it ties into 2 collector roadways, no cut-through traffic. It wouldn't be within the Tijeras Arroyo biozone, and it wouldn't be within the landfill. The cons is, of course, this would have some home relocations and possible utility conflicts. This alternative is being analyzed as part of this study, but due to the context sensitivity, it is not a viable option. And then the last alternative would be a no-build alternative. This means the roadway network stays as it is. The pros of it, it would be the least expensive alternative. It's not within the landfill, not within the biozone, no home relocations. The cons, of course, would be the connectivity, and the traffic would remain the same as it is today. Like I mentioned previously, the detailed analysis of these alternatives is part of our next steps. There are a lot of constraints within the study area, so these will be analyzed and weighed to determine the preferred alternative. So we are here tonight because we want to hear from you. There are different ways we can get your input. There will be a survey after the presentation, which I really encourage everyone to take. This survey asks your opinions on the alternatives we presented tonight. You can also email comments to me, audra.gallegos@wilsonco.com. Comments are due by December 15th. And then the next public meeting is tentatively set on January 19th. At this meeting, we will present the outcome of the study and the preferred alternative. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to questions. Since we have a large amount of people on attending this meeting, what we're going to do is you may type in any questions that you have in the question box, and we'll read them out loud and then answer them. So let's see. Oh. There is a question to please go back one slide, and the person who answered that, can you type in the question box what slide you would like to see, and I'll go back to it. The first slide showing all the alternatives. So this slide shows all the alternatives except for alternative E, which is the no build. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, so the question, if the existing traffic flow stays the same as today, will speed bumps be an option to install? So if you can kind of expand on that question, and where's the speed bumps that you would be looking to install at? The next question, how many homes would be impacted by alternative D? So alternative D runs all the way through the north side of the mobile home park. So there's quite a bit of mobile homes at that location. I do not know off of the top of my head how many there are exactly. Another question, would any of these options result in a cost incurred directly by community members, such as a PID? Petra or Tom, can you help me with that one?
Hello, this is Petra. So at this point, the study is really looking at coming up with a most feasible alternative. Then we'd be looking at funding. At this point, there is no interest in looking at something such as a PID. We would most likely be looking at state or federal funding options. So getting it on the transportation improvement plan list, and getting basically government money to pay for this. Tom can probably expand on this a bit more eloquently than me.
Thank you.
Well, that covers it pretty good, Petra. Also, I'd only add that we would add in potentially local general obligation bonds for that.
Thank you. The next question is, what is less expensive, B or C? So right now we haven't dove into the detailed analysis of these. These are just high-level alternatives. So our next steps would be actually looking at the impacts of each of these alternatives and determining conceptual costs for each alternative. So the next public meeting, we should have an answer for you on that one. Another question, will there be any discussions to coordinate with the Sandia Tech master plan? Yes, we are in coordination with the Sandia Tech Park, and we do have the master plan. So if these alternate B or C were chosen, it would definitely look into how that master plan is laid out and the connections. I know there's some proposed roadways that they have south of Innovation Parkway. Has Wilson or City of Albuquerque indicated a preference? At this time, there's not a preference. We are just have these conceptual layouts, and again, our next step is to taking a deeper look at each alternative and determining what is the best with the constraints that are in the study area. Next question, do any alternative require eminent domain land acquisition? Tom or Petra, can one of you help me with this one?
Sure, this is Petra. Alternative D would most likely require either purchase from the property owners, or if the property owners were not interested in selling eminent domain. But because there are so many homes located in that area, it's really not a viable option and not something we would want to do. Alternatives A and B, both there are existing easements, and so there are also areas that the City of Albuquerque is working to purchase as part of the Tijeras Biozone. So I don't think that those would result in eminent domain, and the same for C as well.
Thank you. And next question, why can't alternative A connect to Juan Tabo? So there are a lot of homes that are close to the Kirtland Air Force Base property line. So in order to have alternative A connect to Juan Tabo, it would either be taking homes, which it's something that we'd rather not do, or having to work with Kirtland and getting right away from them. So back to the speed bump question, it was for Elizabeth and Herman Razer. Right now, this project is just based on the Juan Tabo connectivity study. It's not looking at improvements to the residential streets. The next question, how is the new development approved South Juan Tabo, south of the bridge, when it butts to the Biozone? So the Biozone, there has to be a process to be able to build in the Biozone, which it is preferred not to, but if there is development within it, like I said, there has to be a process with the Open Space Advisory, which would need to have some recommendations.
And Audra, I'll hop in on that one as well, because I'm not sure whether it's the development of the proposed bridge that we're talking about, or possible road, or whether the questions about the houses.
I think it's the houses.
So houses went through review by the planning department, but I think it was the request to develop this area that kind of drew people's attention to the need to protect the Tijeras biozone. So I think they kind of predated the biozone, is my understanding, the study for the biozone. And again, Tom might be able to answer that one a bit better.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Would any of these alternatives include opening the roads between Four Hills and Juan Tabo Hills East? Currently, they are blocked off. Petra, I'm going to lean on you for that one too.
So no, they wouldn't. There was a pretty extensive discussion in the past about the connections between Juan Tabo Hills and Four Hills, and the decision in the past was made that those connections should not go through because Four Hills was concerned about cut-through traffic, and vice versa. I'm guessing Juan Tabo Hills are concerned about cut-through traffic coming from Four Hills. So at this point, the two areas remain separate.
Thank you. The next question is, at some point, Kirtland had a long-term plan to extend Eubank. Has the city discussed options with Kirtland? This is something we have not discussed with them, but Petra has been in contact with the Kirtland planner. So this would actually be really good to bring up and to talk to them about. So thank you for the comment. The next question, can you give access to the land at SS and TP with different options? Can you please expand on that question, and then we'll get back to it. The next question is there a federal process to traverse the biozone? Tom, do you know anything about that? I haven't heard anything.
At this point in time, it's not a federal lands, and it's a city just purchasing open space. There is some consideration that must be taken, the fact that it is a floodplain. So our plans have to accommodate for the FEMA federal floodplain, but beyond that, it is not part of the federal lands management inventory.
Thank you. And then the next question is, what is the timeline for this project? So right now we've gone through the existing conditions. Our next step would be the detailed analysis of alternatives, which we will present at the next public meeting, which is hopefully will be January 19th. After we get the input back from the public on that meeting, we will submit the final draft of the study, and that's kind of where the study phase ends of the project. After that, it would have to, depending on what the preferred alternative is, the city would look for funding sources to be able to design and build the project. So the study should end early next year, but then the design part from there on out, there's not a specific timeline for that. The next question is, what is the transportation plan for potential funding? So this kind of goes with the other question. Right now, there's not any funding in place to build this alternative. The city would have to seek funding sources in order to get this built. Next question is, thinking about the Tabo Bridge closure during an emergency, does the city have an obligation to provide alternative emergency routes? Petra or Tom?
Is Tim on? Tim might know that one to best. Is he on the panel?
He's on. Tim.
Hey, Tom, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hey, so building a bridge would provide a probably better emergency route into the area, but if the bridge would close, then the emergency route would revert back to what's there today. It would be no different than the situation today. So you get a bridge, better access, presumably faster emergency response, although I don't know exactly where the fire stations are or where the ambulances might be coming from for that particular area. But if the bridge were to close, then you wouldn't be any worse off than you are today.
Thank you, Tim. So the next question is, will the analysis include impacts or benefits to the Willowwood neighborhood? That should include an analysis of which alternatives provides the best option for those commuters currently cutting through the neighborhood. So this, as part of this study, we did look through, analyze the cut-through traffic, which is obviously an issue within the Willowwood community. So these alternatives, when we're doing the detailed analysis, we'll look at the reduction that the surrounding neighborhoods might have in cut-through traffic. The next question is, when is the Willowwood traffic study results be implemented? Tim, do you have an answer for that one?
I do not at this point. So those of you who are from the Willowwood neighborhood know that DMD, me, and Wilson Engineering, Audra, have been working together to prepare a plan. We had come up with basically two alternatives, one that involved building different infrastructure within the Willowwood neighborhood, and then the other one that talked about the neighborhood potentially placing a gate. I believe that we need to follow up with the neighborhood and find out what their preferred alternative is, whether they would consider or whether they would prefer to continue working towards the gate, or whether we would prefer to install the equipment in the neighborhood. My recollection, Audra, was that there was not a clear consensus from the public meeting that we had. And so we needed to do some follow-up in order to nail that down. But this particular study basically started as a result of the initial work that we did in Willowwood, where we started looking at alternatives besides doing work within the neighborhood. The work within the neighborhood is going to happen at a much faster timeline than this project, right? This project is going to take a lot of time to plan and design, secure the funding, anything ever happens, whereas the project that happens within Willowwood, whether it is the vacation right away in the gate or the other infrastructure that was planned, is going to happen much sooner.
Thank you, Tim. Next question is, option C seems too close to Willowwood. Traffic would probably just continue to cut through Willowwood. Option B seems like the best option at this point. Next question, before the development of Volterra, wasn't there a traffic study done at that time to foresee this traffic issue we are having now? I guess Tim or Tom, do either of you have any background on that?
I don't. Maybe Tim does.
No, I don't either. That would have happened out of planning, and certainly before my time. The TIS that was prepared for the Tabo Hills subdivision happened quite some time ago, probably before the recession or around the recession. So, like I say, I have no knowledge of it.
Okay, thank you. Next question is there sufficient right-of-way for option A? Right now, as I mentioned previously, the city doesn't have very much right-of-way within this study area. They have a little strip within the Tijeras Arroyo, but they are working to acquire more right-of-way within the biozone. So since option A is at the edge of the biozone, that would be part of that right-of-way acquisition. Next question, would there be turn lanes or lights to help with traffic backups? So like, the study's looking at the connectivity for the project. I don't know if there would be a next step after this to look at the specific traffic at the intersections. I don't know, Tim, if you can add on that.
Yeah, I think once the project moves into final design, which once again is not going to happen soon, but final design would definitely take all of those factors into account. And keep in mind, that's going to vary depending on what alternative is going to be chosen, right? So option A could have significantly different traffic patterns and traffic flows down Juan Tabo than B or C. And then that will end up driving whatever traffic control is needed at the intersections. But it would definitely be our goal, if we're going to build a new connection, that we want it to work properly day one. We don't want to build a new connection and then all of a sudden realize that there's a problem either at a Juan Tabo intersection or potentially within the research park or out to Eubank, that there's a new problem and now we have to start over again with a new project. We would want to solve everything all at once.
Thank you. Next question is, will the analysis include a weighting of the different criteria such as cost, impact to the biozone, impacts to existing homes, etc.? If so, will this weighting be shared? Yes, we'll do a matrix of the criteria for each alternative, and we'll provide this information at our next public meeting. There's a few questions about getting a copy of the presentation. So there is a project website that is under Councilor Harris's, so District 9 website on the City of Albuquerque. So this presentation will be posted at the probably tomorrow.
Yes, Audra, I can weigh in on that one. This presentation will be put on the website tomorrow, and then everyone that registered for the presentation, we have your email addresses. So I'll also be emailing everyone who registered. So that's everyone who's on this call, but also folks who registered but maybe couldn't make it. And I'll email out the link to the website tomorrow. So you'll be able to see the presentation and share it with anyone.
Thank you. So the next question, what would be the expected traffic relief volume number from Juan Tabo to Eubank to be effective? Like I said previously, we have not dove into the detailed analysis of this to look at how much traffic exactly would be relieved from the other routes if one of these roadways were built. Will all the parties participating in this meeting receive an invite to the next in January? Yes. Everyone, like Petra said, everyone who registered for this public meeting, we have your email address. So we will send you an email with the link to register for the next public meeting once we have it set up. Is the majority of cut-through traffic in Willowwood from Wantabo Hills? I don't have an answer for you on that one. Since the access at Herman Rosser is partial access, when the cut-through study was done, it wasn't determined if people from Wantabo Hills were going north on Wantabo and making a U-turn to go through the Willowwood community, or if it was residents from the northern communities. Can participants select and or rank their preferences for the options presented? So after this presentation ends, a survey will pop up and it'll ask you a few questions like which option is your favorite, which option is your least favorite, and why was this option your favorite, why was this option your least favorite, and then there's also a box to put any other questions or comments that you may have. Next question, will there be bike lanes considered for all alternatives? Yes, for all alternatives, we'll look at multimodal, so bike lanes, sidewalk, or multi-use paths. The last question is who will make the ultimate decision on what road will be built? So once we go through, we'll do our alternative matrix and do the detailed analysis to determine which alternative has the least impacts or the most impacts. Also, we want to hear from all of you. We want to get your opinion on what alternative you like, what alternative you don't like, because your input is important. These roadways are for you. You'll be driving them every day. So that is the last question I have, unless there's anyone else who has anything. I think.
Audra, going back to the question on, is there a TIS done for Volterra?
Yes.
And I believe Volterra is to the west of Wantabo Hills, correct? Just verify that. On the right location.
I'm not sure about that one, Tom.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, this is Laura. I believe Volterra is to the east of Wantabo
Hills. Okay. I can't say exactly for Volterra, but if it's off Wantabo, there was a TIS done for Wantabo Hills, which included a broad area. And at that time, there was no connectivity to that part of the arroyo. So the developers, it fell on the developers to build the bridge and build Wantabo as an arterial. That there probably were still additional TIS is done as new developments came in, but the majority of the work that would have been required to bring traffic from that area into the main city traffic system was done. It probably would have been done by the Wantabo Hills through the Wantabo Hills TIS by building Wantabo and the bridge. TIS is mostly focused on building what's the responsibility of the developer is to build the major roads downstream from them that their developments will impact. And it's likely that a lot of that was picked up under the Wantabo Hills TIS. So if there was there was probably not major work that was required by Volterra, most likely, is an educated guess on my part.
Thank you, Tom. All right, well, Ben posted the link to the website where the presentation will be posted. So he put it in the chat box. So like I said, it should be posted tomorrow, if not later this week. So I think that's it. That's it for tonight. There's no other questions. Like I said, please take the survey. At the end of the presentation, we want to hear from you, and then you can also email me your questions at aja.gallegos@wilsonco.com. All righty. Well, I hope everyone has a good night.
Thanks, Audra. Let me know. Send me the PDF of the presentation tomorrow, and I'll get Julian to pop that on the website for everyone.
Okay, yeah, I'll shoot you over an email, and then I should have the results of the survey this evening. So tomorrow I'll be able to get those out.
Oh, that would be great. And then also, if you can send me the updated registration list, because I think when I sent out the reminder yesterday, we only had 47 people, I think, registered. And so that list was much shorter. So I think there'll be more email addresses for me to add to send everything to.
Yes, I will get that to you. Sorry, someone just asked a question, how to get to the survey. So once you log off this presentation, it'll pop right up.
Well, I will chat to you tomorrow, Audra. Thanks.
Yep, sounds good. Talk to
Bye.
you soon. Okay, bye. So for the audio to be included, I need to check to see if we can get something. If you want to send me an email, and then maybe we could talk about if I can get the file and get you some more information. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, just shoot me over an email, and we'll discuss this week.